All right. I'm going to briefly go over the World War I cultural history aspect that we've already kind of gone over. Make sure that you have kind of access to the materials that I want you to have so that you can pass that World War I cultural history exam. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead and move to the exam so you can kind of see what it is I am asking of you. So let's begin the exam. Let's go here, starting off with number one. President Woodrow Wilson persuaded the American people to enter World War I by, all right, this is one of those things we talked about. He pledged to make the war a war to end all wars and to make the world safe for democracy. That would be the easy and only answer to that question. President Wilson viewed America's entry into World War I as an opportunity for the United States to do what? He viewed it as an opportunity for the United States to, where is it at? Shape a new international order based on the ideals of democracy. Which one of the following was not among Wilson's 14 points upon which he based America's idealistic foreign policy in World War I? Okay. Did we have a reduction of armaments? Yes. Did we have an international religious freedom and toleration? No, that was not ever mentioned. So let's look at the other ones. Abolition of secret treaties? Yes, he mentioned that. A new international organization to guarantee collective security? Yes, we absolutely, that was his main goal, was the establishment of the League of Nations. The principle of national self-determination for subject peoples? Yes, we had that as well. So that is your answer there. Major problem for George Creel and his Committee on Public Information essentially was that he oversold Wilson's ideals and led the world to expect too much. I mean, quite honestly, from World War on, anytime there's a problem, the world is going to look to us to be the one that solves that. So he oversold the idea, and now the rest of the world came to expect too much. During World War I, civil liberties in America were, let's see here, denied to many, especially those suspected of disloyalty. That was absolutely a problem in World War I. Two constitutional amendments adopted in part because of wartime influences were the 18th, which dealt with prohibition, and the 19th, whose subject was women's suffrage. So you have two options there that start with prohibition. Only one of them ends with women's suffrage. That'd be your correct answer. As a result of their work supporting the war effort, women finally received the right to vote. All right. During World War I, the government's treatment of labor could best be described as fair. All right. There was a lot of labor issues during World War I, but the government was generally fair. A group of writers in the 1920s who shared the belief that they were lost in a greedy, materialistic world that lacked moral values and often choose to flee to Europe. Okay, the Lost Generation is that group of writers, including Ernest Hemingway, that we've already discussed in class, originally termed that by Gertrude Stein, and you'll see that here in a little bit as well. The two groups who suffered most from the violation of civil liberties during World War I were German Americans and social radicals. You guys remember we talked about that we renamed a bunch of things. It's no longer called hamburger because that's a German word. We're going to call it Liberty Steak. It's no longer called sauerkraut. That's a German word. We're going to call it Liberty Cabbage. We're going to do all kinds of things to be anti-German during World War I. The movement of tens of thousands of Southern blacks north during World War I resulted in racial violence in the North. Okay, it led to Red Summer, led to violence against blacks in the aftermath of World War I. Most of the money raised to finance World War I came from the Liberty loans. You've seen propaganda poster after propaganda poster talking about first and second and third Liberty loan. It came from loans from the American people who would buy war bonds, and then that would help support the war. They did also raise income taxes dramatically, but the main answer is loans from the American people. Woodrow Wilson's ultimate goal at the Paris Peace Conference was the establishment of the League of Nations, which is what I told you a while ago. His main reason for being there was to do that. Which of the following were goals sought by Wilson at the Paris Peace Conference? He wanted free trade and freedom of the seas. He wanted national self-determination. He wanted a world parliament of nations to provide collective security. He did not want that. He wanted preventing a seizure of territory by the victors. The Lost Generation writer spent much of his life in France, Spain, and Cuba during World War I. Notable works include A Farewell to Arms, that we've already been discussing, would be Ernest Hemingway. The Red Scare 1919 was provoked by the Public's association of labor violence with its fear of revolution. Disillusioned by war and peace, Americans in the 1920s did which of the following? Did they denounce radical foreign ideas? Absolutely. Did they condemn un-American lifestyles? Absolutely. Did they enter a decade of economic difficulties? No, the 1920s are the roaring 20s. Did they shun diplomatic commitments to foreign countries? Yes. Did we restrict immigration? Yes. So all of them but that one there in the middle. The Ku Klux Klan of the 1920s was a reaction against the forces of diversity and modernity that were transforming American culture. Immigration restrictions of the 1920s were introduced as a result of the nativist belief that Northern Europeans were superior to Southern and Eastern Europeans. We've already discussed new immigration versus old immigration, and we believe generally that Southern and Eastern Europeans were dangerous and lessers. The immigration quota system adopted in the 1920s discriminated directly against, therefore it is the same answer, Southern and Eastern Europeans. The Lost Generation refers to 1920s writers who were fearful that society had become wealthy and snotty. All right. But they did believe we had become materialistic, but promiscuous was not a problem that they felt existed. Okay. They were more than promiscuous themselves. President Wilson's 14 points included a permanent international organization. It included self-determination, freedom of the seas, and arms limitation, all of them but spheres of influence. The writer who coined the phrase the lost generation is Gertrude Stein. Gertrude Stein, I told you that a while ago. All right, so here's one of the poems we looked at in class. The author of the poem above would most likely be described as, and I'm not going to give you these answers, so make sure you understand that the author of this poem is either romantic or modernist. Apologize for that. And then we have a piece of art. Okay, this artist would most likely be described as romantic or modernist. Make sure you answer that one as well. And then finally, this one here, if you remember Gast, John Singer Sargent's Gast, the artist above would most likely be described as which one, romantic or modernist? And then you are going to hit submit. Okay, once you've watched this video, you should be able to do just that. So what I will tell you is that a lot of you have already tried to take the World War I cultural history exam. I would encourage you to go ahead and try that again. I've removed the restrictions from that so you can try it again if you did not get a good score. Thanks. Have a great day.